Hello and welcome to the BA Knowledge Share. In this episode, I'm honored to have Dr. Sriram Rajagopalan, who is the Head of Training and Learning Services at Inflectra. A couple of episodes ago, we had interviewed and got a really good insight into Inflectra and its business model. So I'm happy to have Dr. Rajagopalan on this podcast. So welcome.
Thank you very much, Rashmi, and thanks for having me.
Not a problem. And can you introduce yourself and give us a brief background about yourself?
Definitely. My name is again Dr. Sriram Rajagopalan. I'm currently working as an Enterprise Agile Evangelist with Inflectra Corporation, head of training, providing customized services for different clients in different industries. But prior to that, I was also the Vice President of Program Management Office and Proposition Delivery, where about 50 people I was managing to deliver different kinds of programs, products within the life sciences space for different companies within that life sciences space. I also have been teaching as an assistant teaching professor in a number of universities, talking about where the world is going, the type of leadership that is required in the IT space, in the artificial intelligence, data analytics, business analytics, project management, agile, scaling agile, and advanced agile techniques, digital project management, and stuff like that. Currently, I'm also the main principal, quote unquote, the person, faculty responsible for strategic leadership, global leadership, and those kind of areas as well within how fourth industrial revolution technologies is emerging. I am also a published author. I published a book called Organized Common Sense, which is talking about how project management principles are really required. But in a nutshell, I try to give my time back to the community that made me who I am.
Great. Well, thank you for the introduction and the vast knowledge and experience that you have. Speaking about the fourth industrial revolution that you just mentioned, and knowing the audience are sort of business analysts and in the analytics space, in the AI space as well, can you elaborate on the history and impact of AI?
Definitely, that's a very big, vast question.
Yeah, right.
But just focusing on some of the important things, AI has become more like a very commonplace term that we currently use. But it has been around for more than 2, 3 decades, at least at a minimum. Somewhere around 1991, I was in Scotland, and I was working on expert systems, like what kind of data to be given for a computer program to differentiate common symptoms like cold, headache, flu, and fever, and these kind of things, and how we can determine whether it is a simple problem or something that really requires medical intervention. So those kind of expert system knowledge happened a long time back. Remember working on Prolog at that point, and those of you that have worked on list processing with AutoCAD and stuff like that in the 2 or 3 decades back, that is also some element of artificial intelligence and machine learning, how we are able to do that. So we have come a long way in terms of how unstructured, structured, as well as semi-structured learning models can apply. The fourth industrial revolution technology has been present for quite some time, and this is talking more about how drones, how different kinds of NLP, natural language processing, different types of machine learning, and everything is actually being involved. So the cars that we are using, it's not necessarily that autonomous driving vehicles that we are currently having, but even some of those anti-lock braking systems. Some of the things about talking to Siri, and these things are all emerging over a long period of time. So it was not like suddenly we are seeing all these things converge, but this has been present for a long period of time. So at least at a minimum, the artificial machine intelligence can be traced back to 3 to 4 decades. But the last 10 years or so has been seeing an exponential increase of convergence of all these technologies, primarily because of the sophistication of a number of different things that's happening today. So that's in a nutshell about a overarching, expansive approach of how AI has been evolving in different spaces. And different industries also continue to explore different technologies in a different fashion. And while we are talking about this, we have to put in context the pandemic that recently happened.
Right.
Many times people think like, oh, the remote working and the enablement of all these remote working tools and many other things that come up with the telehealth and services that were launched prevalently during this particular time frame were all because of the pandemic. No, it is not necessarily because of the pandemic, because the virtual health assistance, image diagnosis, as to how a radio technician reads the different kinds of medical images and see whether there is a pattern emerging or not, cancer diagnosis, MS screening, and a number of different techniques have been constantly being researched and implemented in different shapes and forms. But the pandemic did actually bring all these things back to reality and say, we need to have some other additional thought process as well. So I just want to call this out primarily because AI has been present for a long period of time. Pandemic came and did a little bit of a push, gentle push, and say we need to actually move into these areas. And now we are seeing a lot of convergence of these things happening more rapidly than we have seen in the last 3 decades.
Yeah, no, it's interesting you bring that up, that it's been in the works for many decades, right? So the pandemic sort of encouraged a lot of the acceleration to happen. That being said, what are some of the roles and jobs that you're seeing emerge from the impact of AI? So as an example, ChatGPT came in end of 2022. I think that sort of pushed everyone's awareness. But being in the industry for decades, what are some jobs that you're seeing emerge from AI, specifically around the analytics space?
That's an excellent question. So, many times AI is, there is a group of people that think like if AI is going to be an enemy, this is not the right thing. We shouldn't do these things. And, human intelligence is always bigger than artificial intelligence. I'm not disagreeing with any one of those thought process. But then there is another group of people that says like, AI is going to be my friend. I need to use this to, get my mundane tasks or, normally manual tasks to be automated. So it really depends upon how people see each other. So in terms of AI is here to stay. Technology is here to stay. As we that the curve where people initially have this big resistance and then
Right.
normalize towards like, okay, this is where it's going to stay, and now then they start accepting the reality and start embracing how to move forward. So the roles that I am seeing emerging is primarily relating to how we can release capacity from the mundane tasks that we have already automated, so that we are having thought process in terms of strategy as to what the company should do. Should the product be done at this point in time? Is there a different element of the product? Should we prioritize some other feature because of the risk it proposes? And the benefits to not just the company that is telling we how to deliver the product, but the actual end users, the customers of the product themselves. And see the value alignment. So some of the things that I am seeing emerging, or I will talk more about the responsibilities and then move into the roles that are emerging. So the responsibilities that are emerging right now are you a critical thinker? Because a lot of the mundane tasks have been taken away from you. The to-do list, the task list, and things like that have been taken away from you. So the idea here is like, are you able to think of a bigger proposition, what needs to be done, how it needs to be done, and stuff like that. That's coming more and more expected of many of the roles, primarily in the analytics space. As well as when I say analytics, it is primarily both business analytics and data analytics. Both of them are working in tandem at this point. The next one is going to be more of an idea generator. I would like to come to the table with an idea of this is what the industry needs. This is what a potential idea can be. And it could be incremental innovation that people call Kaizen or continuous improvement, or it could also be radical innovation or Kaikaku. So both are really required. And so that means both the product level innovation as well as the process level innovation, both are really required in both the business and data analytics, groups.
Mm-hmm.
The third one is going to be more about a value created. Not all ideas are going to stick. So what ideas will stick and what kind of criteria will you put in place, like the objectives and key results, the key performance indices, and things like that. What are you going to use as a measure to evaluate the idea that I came up with is sticking as grounds to explore further and stuff like that. And fourth is going to be more of a value aligner, because as multiple streams of businesses are coming up with their own innovative ideas, how you align them, how you try to monitor them to see whether it is all working together. And in my humble opinion, the ideas begin critical thinker, idea generator, and then the value creator and the value enabler. If you take all the four responsibilities, excuse me, it's all based upon risk driven thinking. What are the potential risks that have available, and how can I address them proactively? How can I address them reactively at a later point? Because not all risks are created equal. So those thought processes are emerging. So now let's shift into the roles.
Sure.
Now, when you shift take these responsibilities into the roles, the things that are emerging primarily are more of a versatilist. I don't want to come and say I'm a business analyst and then I'm a data analyst and I'm a system analyst, because if the business and the data and the system don't work together, we only have created chaos, right? So what people are looking for is a lot more than those T-shaped skills. Somewhere around 85, 95 time period is when we started thinking about those T-shaped skills, where we said we don't want a person that is having depth of knowledge on one thing, but no breadth of knowledge. So we said, we need to have T-shaped skills. And since then we have moved along. And in 1995 and 2005 time period, we basically came back and said, not one depth of knowledge. We want to have more than one depth of knowledge. So, pie-shaped skills. And then we moved on to the E-shaped skills around 2015 or so. So the more and more the expectation is, I want you to be able to think from a business standpoint, as well as from a system standpoint, as well as from the data standpoint. And I always say data is pure gold now. Data is the pure gold. So we have to use what insights exist in the data that artificial intelligence and machine learning can be used to unearth, and what kind of stories are untold, what kind of stories are supposed to be told more of, and what kind of stories should be told less of. Those are things that we need to start looking at. So that's how the world is moving forward. It's versatilist. It's not like BA roles are going to be gone. We want everybody to be a data analytics from now on. And data analytics is going to go away, and business analytics is what is really required. It's not that, but it's all converging.
Right.
We still want people to have that multiple skill sets to be able to think from multiple dimensions.
And to your point, I would think that it's learning is key. So I keep saying this: business analysis is a skill set. If you have that sort of helps you if you are a data analyst, right? So it's those the vertical, not the vertical, but the horizontal sort of skill set building that I think moving forward would work, and ties into what you just said. So tied to that is how can one prepare for the transition to AI? Because there's so much information out there. I think there's a little bit of chaos in terms of a new role emerging called prompt engineering, right? That's one thing. So how does one deal with these changes and sort of prepare for the transition to AI?
Right. So these are just some of my thoughts over here. So first, we need to accept the reality.
Mhm.
Many times, the more we choose to disagree with the reality, the more we are going to distance ourselves from potential opportunities that exist.
Mhm.
And when you normally do the SWOT analysis, we always say the SWOT is the strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threat. When you do the SWOT analysis, we normally come and say lead with your strengths so that you are able to identify opportunities and mitigate the threats.
Mhm.
That's how we try to come back and say. So in this particular approach, what I normally recommend people is, first of all, accept that there is going to be rude awakening here. And once you have adapted that particular approach, you go on and start looking into any one of those T-shaped skills. So don't try to focus on what you always know as your strong
Mhm.
positioning. Your strong position is important because you want to lead with that, but don't let go of your blind spots. So
Mhm.
those weaknesses that is going to later come back and haunt you, because in the project management, product management world, I normally say your strength can become a weakness, because
Yeah.
if you only continue to focus on your strength alone, your strength can become a weakness, because people will look at that and say, well, you're good only at that and not in other areas, and so I would not need you. So you have to actually start developing that multiple skill set. Now, skills are learned, competencies are going to be continuously earned. So the more you apply your skills in the form of learning, the better your competencies are going to be. So the approach that I would recommend is, first of all, adapt something.
Mhm.
Whether it is Kanban level thinking or business analytic level thinking, or you are thinking like, I don't know much about the security dimensions that are coming up in this world, so I need to know more about security or data privacy. And these
Mhm.
are all terms, these are not just words. There is a lot of information behind them. So try to understand that ecosystem. And that's what many times when people come back and say, oh, we are moving from project level thinking to product level thinking. What are they trying to say? They're not trying to say, oh, we don't want this project management ideas at all, like the scope,
Mhm.
schedule, cost, quality, team, people, stakeholders, risk, procurement, communication. We don't want any one of this. Is that what product level people are telling? No, what they are trying to say is we need the project management foundations, but we need to actually start looking at the big picture,
Mhm.
like the systemic thinking of what is the value, the ecosystem where you are thinking about how these projects interplay and stuff like that. So I would like the next generation of business analysts to start looking at what are some of those blind spots. Do your own SWOT analysis and come and say, this is my strength. And so make sure that you are continuously skilled in that strength area, but
Mhm.
also start looking at some of those weaknesses that is going to remove opportunities away from you. One of the things in India that we say is, if opportunities do not knock, build a door.
Right.
Right. So you need to start building your capability in those particular areas of whatever you think are going to be your weaknesses. I can come and say you should always be skilled in this, but based upon who you are, take a inventory of your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and say this opportunity of AI, ML based emerging opportunities are present.
Mhm.
And if you are not going to be up to speed with your strengths as well as your weaknesses being addressed, you are going to be threatened. So you come with what are the blind spots that I do not know much about, and
Mhm.
have an open dialogue with others. Come up with mentors or coaching engagements with others to say, this is what I think is really required. What do you think? And have that dialogue and build some of those elements where you are able to move forward. So first thing is going to be, become aware, right? The second thing is awake, do something about it.
Mhm.
Then adopt something. You may not necessarily know what, but if you have 4 or 5 different things and talk to different people, then they are going to come back and provide you some ideas. So that's going to be adopt. And after that, you adapt, make it your own, because you create new knowledge here. And
Right.
once you become you know adept at these things, these are my 5 A's. Once you become adept, then you will become aware of new information that you were never aware of. So that aware, awake, adapt is my cycle of how you continuously look for new information and prepare yourself for the future that is yet to be written.
No, that's pretty insightful. So there's a whole process to really understand. It's almost like doing a gap analysis on yourself when you mention SWOT, but also understanding what are the opportunities. So are there any other nuggets of thought that you'd like to leave the audience?
Definitely. So some of the things that I would like to, tell is, first of all, make AI your friend.
Mhm.
Okay. I mean, you mentioned ChatGPT.
Right.
Use technology, but don't get used to technology. So use the ChatGPT to find out what are the types of risks that are available in my product. What
Mhm.
are the types of requirements that I should really be creating? What are the non-functional requirements that I should be really focusing on? So you can ask these kinds of questions and learn from this and build your own knowledge base. No, instead of using ChatGPT to write an email,
Mhm.
use ChatGPT to find out things that you do not know and start filling the gaps. So make technology your friend. Then technology will help you rather than hurt you. Okay. The second thing is, think like a business. You are a business.
Mm.
So think like I am the business. I'm not like an individual, but I am the business.
Mhm.
And all the products that we are working, all the team members that we are working with, they are our clients. So when you adopt that kind of a thought process, you will be open for ideas. You won't be feeling like, this is who I am, this is what I am, and I will never ever change. I'm not asking you to change your identity, but I am asking to be open for ideas that may emerge. And the more open you are, the better you will be. So that's my second important technique that I recommend. And don't forget finally that at the end of the day there are going to be people. Human intelligence is always going to be greater than artificial intelligence, in my humble opinion, because humans have evolved over a long period of time. Granted, some lessons were learned multiple times. Granted, some lessons have never been learned, but we have also learned a lot of lessons.
Mhm.
And artificial intelligence really requires a lot more time to catch up to human intelligence. Maybe one day, not maybe in my lifetime, but one day, it may happen that artificial intelligence is bigger than human intelligence.
Mhm.
But I'm pretty sure human intelligence would have still be a lot more superseding the artificial intelligence. So don't forget the human component of it. So high touch is always greater than high tech.
Okay.
These
Interesting.
are the three things that I would like to propose that people keep in their forefront.
No, that's great. Thank you so much, Dr. Rajagopalan. It's been a pleasure talking to you, especially the concept about AI, what does it mean in terms of roles? And I really appreciated your insight into looking at it from a perspective of what are the opportunities? How do you build skill sets, right? And then in terms of preparing for transition, consider AI and people have used the word co-pilot. Use AI or any technology as a friend, as a co-pilot, and sort of go from there. If anyone wanted to reach you, how do they go about getting a hold of you?
Sure. Yeah. First of all, I'm available on LinkedIn. You can access me through the LinkedIn. And my website is www.sriramrajgopalan.com. You can, connect me there and, reach me over there too. And I'm also available in the Inflectra space. So if you connect with Inflectra, you will see me and then you can reach out to me as well.
Great. Thank you so much for your time, and I will include these links in the show notes as well. So appreciate your time and have a great weekend.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me again.
Sure, not a problem.